Lego. Mama yangu ni Kenya, baba yangu ni Kenya, kabila yangu ni Kenya.
Hello and welcome to Safeguarding the Nation, the official podcast of the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, where we engage minds, bridge communities, and champion unity across Kenya. Here, we are honored to launch our very first episode with none other than the chairman of the commission, Dr. Reverend Samuel Kobia, our chairman. He's a respected national leader, a peace builder, and the moral voice of clarity in Kenya's ongoing journey towards cohesion and inclusion. Today, we'll be diving into the role of the Commission, the current state of cohesion in the country, and the bold steps NCIC is taking to heal and protect the soul of our nation. So whether you're a policymaker, youth leader, teacher, or a citizen committed to peace, this podcast is definitely for you. My name is Feni Akinyi from NCIC Corporate Communications Department, and I'll be your host today for this very special episode.
Thank you for having me. I'm pleased to be here this morning.
It must be very hard being in your shoes, the chairman of the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. But so far, you've done a good job.
Thank you.
So maybe just to start us off, maybe you can tell us about NCIC and what really inspired you to take on this special role as the chairman.
I decided to apply for this job almost 6 years ago now, because as a Kenyan, having made, I would call it a global tour, for 22 years I was away from Kenya, working in Geneva, Switzerland, where I rose to the position of the General Secretary of the World Council of Churches, the first African to have that position. And after that, I felt that it now was time for me to give back to Kenya.
To Kenya, yeah.
Because, I had been giving to the world, so to speak. So when duty calls, you have to answer.
Wow.
And so this, for me, duty called, and I answered. That's why I'm here. Maybe
in this role, have you encountered any difficulties or challenges?
You know, the nature of NCIC is such that you have to face big challenges.
Yes.
Because looking back at why NCIC was created, it was created in response to, I would say, the biggest challenge Kenyans had in terms of living together in peace and unity, as our national anthem calls us to do. Yes. Having really been tested in 2007 rather, and 2008, post-election violence. So Kenyans, in their wisdom, wanted to have an institution that first will help Kenyans to have peaceful and credible elections. Because what the reason NCIC was created was election-related violence.
Yes.
So to be able to do that, there was the need for an institution, and that is what NCIC is. Secondly, that experience Kenya went through, where it became necessary to call the world to help us.
Yes.
To resolve the post-election related violence. And that is why we had, the former president of Tanzania, President Kiwete, and then, of course, led by the late Kofi Annan, former General Secretary of the United Nations, actually someone I worked with very well when I was General Secretary of NCCK.
wow.
We knew each other and we worked very well together.
Wow.
And I was not in the country at that time. I was in Geneva.
Geneva.
But I followed everything, and every time Kofi Annan would come here and come back to Geneva, he would call me and we would talk and wanting to know more things that, of course, he couldn't know. And therefore, those are the dynamics that I would say led NCIC to be now that institution that will also ensure, should there be another situation, and God forbid, as in 2008, do we have the capacity as Kenyans to resolve this problem without having to call on the AU and the UN to come and help us? And therefore, if these are the part of the mandate of NCIC, you can imagine the kind of challenge that we face. Dealing with the politicians in Kenya, you are bound to have challenges. Kenyans love their politics. And I wish we loved our development as much as we love our politics. Because some, our neighbors and around the world, people say, why do Kenyans play politics from election to election? And therefore, to make sure that when we are doing our politics, we are not bringing in the kind of hatred that could lead to another situation like we had before. And that is why, therefore, it is important for us to be very alert to what the politicians are saying, and also, of course, to what Kenyans are saying, and especially the youth, who feel that there's a lot more that can be done to make them have a better life in their country.
What do you think are the most urgent cohesion issues that our country is facing?
When we prepared the elections of 2022, which apparently were the most peaceful elections Kenya has had since the advent of multipartyism, we identified some issues that I think are still very relevant. The first one really is the trust deficit. When you don't trust each other, you are always suspicious.
Yes.
And therefore you are guarding yourself against even your neighbor, so to speak. When you don't trust institutions, including, say, NCIC or especially IBC, then if you don't trust that institution, you will not trust the decisions they make. And that is a part of the challenges that we see, some of the issues that we have. So lack of trust. The second one is politics of ethnicity, ethnic-based politics. And that really is where we, I would say, we have an issue that we have grappled with, and we will continue to do that. The third one is structural injustices. What I mean by structural injustices is that there are structures and systems that Kenya has from one government to another, from even the time of seeking for independence, structures that benefit certain people, whether because of ethnicity or other identities. That really also becomes a big issue because we have so many Kenyans who are poor because of the structures we have, because of the history we have. And therefore, we need to look into that. And the fourth and related to that is inequalities.
Yes.
The inequalities, again, are as a result of history and as a result of ethnic-related politics. And finally, I would say it's really class. Kenya is rated as one of the countries that has the biggest gap between the richest and the poorest. In Africa, I think first is South Africa, then maybe Angola, and I think that could be Kenya. And this is not a good, it's not a good reputation
look, yes.
to have. So because of that inequality, then you have a them and a us. And that really is a problem that we have to deal with. Finally, is access to opportunities. Because of corruption, the opportunities that we have, and especially for young people, you know, in Kenya, it's said it's not what you know, it's who you know that will lead you to a position. Yes. If you are looking for a job, or even other opportunities. One of the mandates of NCIC is to help to have more Kenyans have access to more opportunities. Because Kenyans are very hard-working people, I must say.
In your own opinion, do you think there is something that can be done to maybe make Kenya a better place for everyone, poor or rich?
Obviously, yes. There's a lot that can be done. And that's what NCIC tries to do, to provide platforms and spaces where we can come together as Kenyans and really ask, you know, in a very serious manner, what is ailing Kenya? And what can we do about it? And what is my role in it as an individual, yes, and then collectively as a nation? We have come up with what we call transgenerational conversations framework. This is a framework where NCIC will provide the spaces and the platforms for Kenyans of all generations to come together. And, you know, the Bible tells us that, you know, come, let us reason together. Because if you do that, then you'll be able to overcome any challenges, any problems that you have. And therefore, the transgenerational conversations is a project that NCIC has come up with after the elections of 2022. In fact, before the Gen Z came to the national platform in June of 2024, already NCIC, we had begun to ask ourselves, how can the youth, particularly the Gen Z, be helped to be more active in addressing national issues. This was because in the run-up to the elections of 2022, we had you know, engaged young people, yes, trying to interest them, yes, to register to vote and to actually vote. And you remember there was what was called the youth voter apathy. Yes, yes. They were very apathetic, they were very cynical, and say, well, it doesn't make any difference whether we vote or not. Mm-hmm. And so when we realized that 8 million young Kenyans had achieved the age of 18 and could have voted, if they registered to vote, they would have made a huge difference. Neither President Ruto nor his rival in the elections, the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, none of them got that many votes. So it would have made a huge difference. So we said, let us bring the young people together, but also bring other Kenyans of other, generations and share their experiences. I was very keen about that myself because I was very much involved during my previous time as the General Secretary of NCCK in the 1980s and early 1990s. When we were struggling for, the second liberation. And at that time, I could see what a difference it made when we mobilized more Kenyans to vote. And that's when we came up with the saying that bad leaders are elected by good people who do not vote. Okay, because if you don't vote, then others will vote for, the bad leaders, so to speak. And for that reason, I feel that what we are called to do now is to provide these platforms and come and reason together. So transgenerational conversations is what NCIC is doing to make sure that Kenyans listen to each other. Now, if you bring the younger generation who are, digital and they clearly have the knowledge and the skills that the country needs. And then you bring the experience and the wisdom of the older generations, the energy that young people bring. I mean, this is what will help this country to identify the challenges together and agree that this is the way to address them.
Kenya is gearing up for the next general elections. I don't know if it's too early to start talking about that. Or,
no, it's not too early.
It's not too early.
It's the right time, in fact.
Yes. So now, as Kenya gears up for future elections and heightened political activities, as we've seen in the last elections, what role should every citizen then play in achieving the dream of having a peaceful and cohesive, maybe our country?
Well, what I would really like to see every Kenyan do is, first of all, to love our country. Love our country so much that you do anything and everything to make it achieve more, and at the same time to make sure that you don't allow those people who might be bent on destroying this country, that they don't succeed. And the way to do that is for you to be involved. In a sense, is practicing patriotism. This is a concept, an idea, but is translated also into our constitution. But people of my age, I'm a boomer, we boomers were there when Kenya became independent.
Wow.
I must say that the level and the depth of patriotism that we had at that time is what brought independence to Kenya. You love your country so much that you will be prepared to die for it. Well, that's what it meant during the colonial time. Secondly, is also during the time of what we call the second liberation, is when again it was becoming clear that we are in the process of self-destruction. And therefore, and that's the idea really of coming together. It was very difficult at that time. In 1992, when the constitution was changed and multipartyism was allowed, the newly formed opposition political parties had it very, very rough, because at that time they couldn't even have a place to meet. I remember this very well because I provided them a place to meet as Ufungamano, which was owned by NCCK, because every other premises they wouldn't meet there, because if they did, the owner of those premises would be targeted by the Kano government at that time. This is something that you young people you don't have that history. So that is why for me coming together, and there's nothing that really we can't do as Kenyans if we are patriotic, if we love our country, and if we feel that I have a role to play to build a better Kenya, to build a more united Kenya. So by coming together, by being united, and seeing that we have a common destiny as a people. And that is why, in NCIC, when we talk of peace, unity, and dignity, we are also talking of one people, one future, one destiny. And that is what I would say we needed to do. So in 2020, that's when NCIC started the roadmap to elections bila norma. And it was more than 2 years to the elections, and people thought it was too early. But if we didn't do it at that time, perhaps we wouldn't have succeeded. Now what we are doing is we have begun to look at the emergence of organized criminal gangs. Because this is where you get the goons who are sent out to, cause, chaos and mayhem for the, for the opponents, etc. So the organized criminal gangs are becoming stronger and stronger, and especially during the time of elections. So that's one that study we are about to complete. Secondly, we feel that we have a responsibility as NCIC to share with the Kenyans the experiences that we had, why the elections 2022 became the most peaceful elections. So we are working on guidelines for conducting peaceful and credible elections. These guidelines are going to be not only for Kenya, but actually for the region. As NCIC, we have received many delegations from different countries of Africa coming to benchmark with Kenya, and especially with the NCIC, so that they know, what made it possible to have such elections. So those guidelines, we are working on that,
yes,
and that will be our contribution. And then finally is to now begin another roadmap to elections 2027. Yes.
So maybe moving away from the sad stories, maybe let's get into the success stories of NCIC. I know we have quite a number, and you've been involved in many of them. Maybe you can just give us one or two, one of your favorite success stories of NCIC.
Yes. Well, I would say that the very obvious one is, as I said, how NCIC helped the elections in 2022 to be the most peaceful elections. We concentrated on, encouraging politicians to have issue-based politics rather than ethnic-based politics. And I think there we did well. We managed to have the presidential candidates, all of them, to sign the political decency and the accountability charter, which we think was very good because we invoked that when there was a threat to go to the streets for those who had lost, but they had signed that they will not do that, they will go to court. And we reminded them that. So that's one success. The second one is in dealing with hate speech related crimes. In 2023, Kenya became the first country in the world to have a national plan against hate speech. And thanks to NCIC, we are the ones who did it. And when it was launched by the Chief Justice was our chief guest, the UN Office of the Secretary General was actually involved in that because a message from the Secretary General came congratulating Kenya on having become the first country to deal with hate speech. And related to that, we came up with the hate lex. Again, we don't know any other country that has a lexicon of words, phrases, and even proverbs on hate speech. So these are some few examples that we can give as successes. To the youth of Kenya, I really would say that by the youth as youth, you have a tremendous opportunity in the sense that you have a long future ahead of you. There are very many opportunities that we have that young people of Kenya today can embrace. We have a youth who are very well educated, and what I would say is that the most important thing for the Gen Z, if I would just talk of Gen Z and the millennials, of course, is to get organized, to be more structured, because you cannot have a lasting change, not even lasting peace for that matter, if you are not well organized. I know, of course, Gen Z, talked of being tribalist, of partyless, etc. This is now time to say, how do we build on the accomplishments that we made? And within a very short time, the Gen Z achieved for this country more than all the party put together could achieve in many years. Okay? And as NCIC, we have in our transgenerational conversations document, we have identified the achievements made by young Kenya. So young Kenyans have helped this country to deal with the issues and the problems that couldn't have been dealt with by political parties or other organizations. But to go beyond the protests, to go beyond demonstrations, because you cannot build a long future through only demonstrations. Now, they made the point. Now, where do we go from there? And that's why I feel that, and I'm very hopeful, that young people will get better organized, better structured, and begin now to see how to bring in more people to their thinking, and especially how they see the future. I also feel that young Kenyans need to discern what I would say their ideology because the world, the way it is, you have to have a clear way of saying that this is how we see it, and this is where we want it to go, and this is how we'll get there. In this, I would say to the young Kenyans that NCIC is there to work with you. And I wanted to invite the Gen Zs and the millennials to participate fully in the transgenerational conversations, because this is where all the issues that need to be addressed can be addressed. So if we do that and we come together, there's nothing that we cannot achieve for a better Kenya, a more united Kenya, and a more cohesive Kenya. And in the end, of course, a more peaceful Kenya. Mahatma Gandhi is one of the very well-known world leaders who believed in non-violence and how non-violence can achieve great things. And he once said that there is no way to peace, peace is the way. That really would be my parting shot. There's no way to peace, peace is the way. And that is what we wanted to do in Kenya.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for your time. We are glad for having you today.
Thank you for having me. And this, again, congratulations on having now created NCIC podcast. And Olive, thank you very much for your leadership in this. And you young people, you are doing a great job.
NCIC, Lego, mama yangu ni